Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be continuing to talk about reading for the IELTS test. Okay, just a reminder for the reading portion of this, there's many different types of questions you get on multiple different texts. Today, we're going to go through just one text and go through a few different types of questions that you might see. So let's get to it. So, first things first, we're going to read the text. And today we're going to be reading part of a letter that Warren Buffett wrote to the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway in 2022. And here's the website where all the letters can be found at if you're interested in these letters. Basically, Warren Buffett's a businessman and a one of probably I think one of the richest people in the world or something like that. But yeah, he's an American businessman, and he owns Berkshire Hathaway, and I believe that's the main cause of his billionaire status and the money that he has, basically, to the best of my knowledge. And every year he writes a letter to the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway to kind of keep them in the loop and explain what they're doing and why they're doing it. So we're going to be reading part of one of those letters today. All right, so here's part one of what we're reading. It says, Charlie and I allocate your savings at Berkshire between two related forms of ownership. First, we invest in businesses that we control, usually buying 100% of each. Berkshire directs capital allocation at these subsidiaries and selects the CEOs who make day by day operating decisions. When large enterprises are being managed, both trust and rules are essential. Berkshire emphasizes the former to an unusual, some would say extreme, degree. Disappointments are inevitable. We are understanding about business mistakes. Our tolerance for personal misconduct is zero. In our second category of ownership, we buy publicly traded stocks, through which we passively own of businesses. Through holding these investments, we have no say in management. Our goal in both forms of ownership is to make meaningful investments in businesses with long lasting favorable economic characteristics and trustworthy managers. Please note particularly that we own publicly traded stocks based on our expectations about their long term business performance, not because we view them as vehicles for um, outright purchases and sales. That point is crucial. Charlie and I are not stock pickers. We are business pickers. Over the years, I have made many mistakes. Consequently, our extensive collection of businesses currently consists of a few enterprises that have truly extraordinary economics, many that enjoy very good economic characteristics, and a large group that are marginal. Along the way, other businesses in which I have invested have died, their products unwanted by the public. Capitalism has two sides. The system creates an ever growing pile of losers while concurrently delivering a gusher of improved goods and services. Schumpeter called this phenomenon creative destruction. One advantage of our publicly traded segment is that episodically it becomes easy to buy pieces of wonderful businesses at wonderful prices. It's crucial to understand that stocks often trade at truly foolish prices, both high and low. Efficient markets only exist in textbooks. In truth, marketable stocks and bonds are baffling. Their behavior usually um, their behavior usually understandable only in retrospect. Controlled businesses are a different breed. They sometimes command ridiculously higher prices than justified, but are almost never available at bargain valuations. Unless under duress, the owner of a controlled business gives no thought to selling at a panic type valuation. Okay, so now we're going to answer some questions about what we just read. So, first things first, we're going to look at these statements and see if they're true, false, or not given. And for this one, I strongly actually encourage you to, if you need to, go ahead, read by this yourself as well if you want to. And also to, try and give some answers that you think would be the way you'd answer these correctly. And then come back and see if my answer is the same as your answers. So that's my suggestion. You don't have to do that, but that is my suggestion for this one since we have already been through one full example in the last lesson. Okay, so number one says Warren Buffett does not tolerate business mistakes. Well, this is false because he specifically said right here, where was it? We are understanding about business mistakes. Our tolerance for personal misconduct is zero. So that implies that, or not just implies, that says that he doesn't tolerate personal misconduct, according to him, but he does understand business mistakes. So this would be false, right? We kind of got this kind of mixes up two sentences and gives us something false. So the answer for number one is false. Number two is more general. There's not a specific place in the text where we could find the answer. It says Warren Buffett thinks more about long term gains than short term profits. And that is very true, right? Many times, not just throughout what we might know about Warren Buffett throughout his life with his background information and things like that, do we know this? Because we're assuming that the only article or anything that we've ever read from Warren Buffett is just this part of this letter and no other context, right? But it's pretty clear from reading this that Warren Buffett does care more about long term gains than short term profits, right? He mentioned, we're not stock pickers, we're business pickers. So yeah, so it's pretty clear that overall Warren Buffett does think more about long-term gains than short-term profits based on reading this, right? It's not like there's a specific part where he says that, but he heavily implies it in many of his statements, right? One of them, let's give an example of where he suggests that that's how he thinks. He thinks that it's not good to just buy and sell foolishly or things like that. He talks about particularly the public traded stocks, are based on expectations about long term business performance, right? Not because we view them as vehicles for like quicker purchases or sales, right? So he views them as long term business opportunities. And that's his purpose of getting those. Okay. So Berkshire Hathaway prefers investing in bonds because they're better for long term investing. Well, the thing is, he didn't mention bonds at all. So I would say probably not given here. This, now if you have background information about bonds, maybe you're more likely to say false or true or, or something, whatever you think of that. But in terms of, we're thinking about this just in terms of this article, or not this article, this part of the letter that we read. And no, this was not given. It was not talked about at all. So for three, we would say not given. Number four says Warren Buffett does not worry too much about his personal life. Well, the thing is, this letter that we read was a letter to the shareholders. So even though, yeah, he didn't talk about his family in this letter, like that doesn't mean that he doesn't worry too much about his personal life or his family or things like that, right? And so I would also say number four is probably not given because, why would anyone, whether they have a much of a personal life or not, why would that be relevant for a letter to the shareholders? The shareholders most likely do not care, right? What they want to hear about is not his personal life anyway. And so I would probably say not given for this one because even though he doesn't talk about it here, why would he, right? He's not writing a letter about his personal life and saying he doesn't worry about it too much. He's writing a letter about, about the company. That's the purpose of his writing. Number five, capitalism has advantages and disadvantages. So this is true according to the article, right? Now, whether or not you agree with that is totally different. However, in terms of what the article, I keep saying article, sorry, I should be saying this letter. According to what the letter says, he does say right here that, or where is it? There is a part where he talks about capitalism and he gives an advantage and a disadvantage about it. Yeah, here we go. Capitalism has two sides. The system creates an ever growing pile of losers while concurrently delivering a gusher of improved goods and services, right? So basically, what he's saying here is that an advantage to capitalism is that it's delivering a lot of really, the best goods and services are the ones that get pushed to the top that consumers actually go for, right? So, for example, Amazon, super successful company. And why is that? Well, it's so easy to just go do, 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 and something appears at your door in 1 or 2 days, right? It's insane, right? And there's so much choice and selection on Amazon, very easy to use. However, the downside of it is it says the system creates an ever-growing pile of losers, right? So what does he mean by that? He means a disadvantage is that not everyone can just sell things in under capitalism, because if I offer a service kind of like Amazon but I only sell candles and I don't sell anything else, and it's going to take 3 weeks to get delivered, and they're the same candles you could buy on Amazon for the same price, that are going to get delivered in 1 or 2 days, why would anyone buy candles from me, right? People would just go to Amazon. Also, of course, Amazon has better marketing, so people might not know that I sell candles. If I don't actually, but if I did, right, people might not realize that because it's not as well known a thing, right? And so that's what he means. It creates an ever growing pile of losers because most businesses do end up failing, but it also delivers the good part of it is it delivers people the best goods and services possible because people are going to choose to continue to order from Amazon if they have good experiences with Amazon and Amazon's getting them what they would like. But does make it hard for someone else to just be like, okay, we're gonna take over, right? There's very few companies that have ever taken over and become as successful or more successful than Amazon, right? It's difficult. I guess there's, Timu and Sheen are becoming popular nowadays, right? So there are some other things, but for every Sheen, Timu, and Amazon company, how many other companies are there that didn't take off, right? That weren't able to offer things as effectively and efficiently as those first three companies I mentioned, right? So, yes, basically, long story short, this is true. Capitalism has advantages and disadvantages, according to Warren Buffett. Number 6 says stocks are sometimes traded at ridiculously high prices, and this is also true. Warren Buffett even mentions this near the end of this passage, right? He even says that, it's only in theory can we have an effective market or an efficient market. I forget the wording he used. Yeah, efficient market only exists in textbooks because sometimes stocks are traded at foolishly high or foolishly low prices, right? So sometimes prices or sometimes the stock prices aren't accurate according to him, right? So true. Sometimes stocks are traded at ridiculously high prices is true. So yeah, so here's our answers. Do compare your answers to mine, make sure you're good to go, and let's move on. Okay, let's fill in the blanks. This time it says use no more than 2 words for each blank. Warren Buffett and blank do not tolerate blank. Warren Buffett and who? Well, Warren Buffett keeps mentioning Charlie, so I'm going to guess that Charlie goes in the first blank. Do not tolerate blank. Oh, well, what don't they tolerate again? There was something specific that they don't tolerate. What was it? It was personal misconduct. They say our tolerance for personal misconduct is 0. So, what does that mean? It means they don't tolerate personal misconduct. So, I'm going to guess that personal misconduct is what goes in that second blank. They have been buying publicly traded blank and investing in the businesses that they directly blank. So in that third blank there, I would say stock, right? They have been buying publicly traded stock and investing in the businesses that they directly blank. Well, they've also been investing in businesses in contrast that they directly control. So not publicly traded necessarily. Maybe they are, who knows, but businesses that they directly control and also other businesses that are just publicly traded as well. Efficient markets are blank because stocks are not always traded at correct prices. So we could say this one, there's a few different words we could put here. It's really up to us. It's not necessarily a word we're going to find in the script, right? Efficient markets are, we could say, not possible, right? Or not common, or we could say they're not realistic or unrealistic, something like that, right? Um, that because that's what he said, right? If we go back to the text, he said efficient markets exist only in textbooks, right? Now, what he means by that is that only in theory, right? Only in theory do we have efficient markets. That's not always reality, is his argument there, right? And so we could say they're unrealistic or something like that. We can't say that they only exist in textbooks because that would be using more than 2 words. We need to come up with a 1 or 2 word answer that makes sense here. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do. So here here's a sample answer that you could, some sample answers you could put. Okay, let's move on to some multiple choice. According to this letter, we can conclude that Warren Buffett is most likely a blank, an employee, a business owner, a father, or a psychic. Well, let's start with employee. Do we think Warren Buffett's an employee? Well, based on what we read, probably not. It probably wouldn't really be an employee's job to write a letter to the shareholders. I mean, maybe sometimes, but I think it's a lot more likely that a business owner or a CEO would. Although I guess maybe CEOs are employees technically. Who knows, right? It depends on the situation. But I don't know. I feel like probably not. I don't know, but regardless, probably a business owner would be more likely to write a letter, right? And besides that, people probably do know that Warren Buffett's business owner, but even if they didn't, that's probably what the conclusion they would come to from reading this. C says father. And although, yes, we know technically, if you know anything about Warren Buffett, you do know that he is a father. I think he has 3 kids. However, the letter never mentions that he has kids, and it never mentions anything about his personal life. So someone from the outside reading this letter for the first time would have no idea whether he's a father or not. We don't. So no, we would not choose that one, even though technically that is true, right? We wouldn't choose that one. It's the wrong answer in this case. And then D is psychic. Well, a psychic, that's someone who thinks that they know how to predict the future. Um, and even though he does talk about, his, I guess, his predictions of the future, I still wouldn't call him, a psychic, right? you know, right? He is forecasting things that will happen, that he feels will happen, but he's backing it up with logic and evidence, right? He's not just saying random things that, might happen or might not happen, right? So I would say no. That's probably not really the best answer either. Okay. All right, number 2 says Warren Buffett's main belief is that blank. A, making mistakes is unacceptable. I don't think so. I don't think that's the main takeaway here. He did, and he mentioned that mistakes are going to happen, right? That is something he said. So no, probably not. B, investing is for the short term is most important since he is old. Well, actually, we don't really know his age here from this. We just know this is a 2022 thing. Now, we might know from background information about him that he is old, but that said, he actually mentions the opposite, right? His key takeaway, his main belief here that we get from this is that actually long term investing is more important. So I would say definite no to B. C says investing for long term. The long term is most important because it produces the best overall results. So that is also true, right? That is for sure true. Not just that because I believe so, right? I mean that is also something I believe as well, and maybe it's something you believe as well. But not only that, but it was said in the article or in the script, right? That's a specific thing we need to keep in mind is that was Warren Buffett's overall attitude too, right? So I would say C is the best answer here. D, capitalism produces too many arrogant people. So maybe you believe that's true, maybe you believe that's not true, who knows? But he didn't really talk about capitalism producing too many arrogant people at any point in this, and I certainly don't think that was the main belief or main point we would get across from skimming this. So, no, I would say probably C is the best answer here. Okay. So, yeah, there we go. Those are answers B and C. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I hope that you learned lots from it. And this helps you feel more confident about the reading section of your IELTS test. Best of luck to you in the future, and we'll see you for the next module. Bye, everyone. Whew.